All right, and welcome back to another episode of Perspective in Pokemon. And I am very excited to have with me Michael, aka ShinyAshKetchum, with me. And for those of you who may not know him, if you're not on Instagram, if rather, let me say repeat this. If you are on Instagram and you like Pokemon and you're not following ShinyAshKetchum, I think you should change your ways and go follow him because honestly, such a cool guy. Like I've only gotten to, I guess, know you or virtually know you for just a little time, but it's you honestly have some of the you're one of the positive people in the community I've noticed, and I
Thank you.
appreciate those vibes that you share just through Instagram and your posts.
Well, that means a lot. And I take that very personally because that's my ultimate goal with my account. So hearing that just makes me feel really good.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, can you just give a brief 60-second intro, who you are, what you're up to?
Yeah. So ShinyAshKetchum, but I much prefer my real name, which is Michael. I've been back into Pokemon for the last year and a half now. I live here in Ohio, so I am in the U.S. in Ohio. I work full time, and I do say that because a lot of times people will say, "Do you work?" Because like I'm always posting content or I'm doing something, and it's like, actually, yeah, full time job. I work for an infection prevention company that's based here in Ohio. Kind of like the coolest company to work for right now, given the state of the world, but it's been very interesting this last year, and I've been working from home for the last year now. So I got back into Pokemon, and which we'll talk more about. But yeah, I'm just living here in Ohio and trying to make the best of this whole situation that's going on. So what I'm doing on Instagram has been super fun, and I can't believe just after all these years, the same magic and happiness and enjoyment of that hobby can still be there even when you're 31 years old.
Yes, I love that. And man, infection prevention company, that is quite the company to be in right now.
Yeah, well, to kind of explain it more, we service like hospitals, pharmaceuticals, laboratories. We decontaminate hospital instrument equipment. So if you're going in for surgery, our product is there to sterilize the equipment, wash the equipment, make sure all the surgical instruments are sterilized before they're used in surgery. We also do sterilization of everyday household goods and consumables that everyone buys, like tissues and like all that stuff like that. So lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, I bet. And just as a not to not to wow, I can't really think right now, but as kind of a side note, so I do work with my dad for a health company,
Okay.
and so also last 12 months have been interesting as we talk a lot about teaching about mental health and how to improve your immune system and things like that.
Right.
And so yeah, definitely been an interesting time in any kind of health related company, health related business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But returning to Pokemon,
Yes.
so
Speaking of mental health, let's talk about Pokemon.
so let's go back to the beginning,
Oh
or
my
the
gosh.
beginning of Pokemon for you. So I'm presumably 90s kid.
Oh, total
Like,
night. I'm still a 90s kid. Like, as the older I get, I realize that I am permanently stuck in the 90s. And I honestly don't have a problem with it. Pokemon is just one facet of my childhood, but I'm a 90s kid at heart. So bringing Pokemon back into my life and seeing the way that Pokemon has been embraced throughout the community and adults, kids, grandparents, everyone across the world has been so cool because this is such a nostalgic thing for us. And it was this past year, coming home from work, I found all my old cards. I enjoyed looking at them. It was a trip down memory lane. And I thought, man, I wonder if these are going for anything right now. And I quickly looked online. It's so funny to talk about this because here we are a year later and coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to sell some of my cards and make some money while I'm sitting here at home. Long story short, I sold one of my entire vintage sets too early, way too early. I did make some good money at the time, but it was my Team Rocket set, and it was first edition.
oh no.
And but there is one saving grace to that story. I did not sell the Charizards, so I have all of those still. And after that, I was thinking, you know what, this is like, people are really still into this. And I started to notice like people really are buying a product, like not like they are now, but I took an interest in it. And I remember going to GameStop and buying like my first modern pack. And it was like Sword and Shield base set, or it was Sun and Moon or something like that. And the first pack I opened, I know it was Sword and Shield because the first pack I opened, I got this Rainbow VMAX Snorlax. And Snorlax is one of my favorite original Pokemon. So that card was like so incredible to me. I was like, I cannot believe how far we've come in like card design, illustration, you know, the holographic, the glitter on the cards, the rainbow. It was just overwhelming. Needless to say, that's all it took. And the rest is history. I've been so invested and I've enjoyed opening every set since.
That's awesome. Yeah, and just speaking on how far the artwork has come,
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, like just looking at some of the stuff from like Chilling Reign, or at least what should be in Chilling Reign,
Right.
you know, stuff like coming out in Eevee Heroes, like, oh my goodness, like I already considered cards like the Pokemon cards artwork, but it's like now it's almost feels like they're even like more art, like artwork.
I know.
Like some of these things I just want to like a big picture of it like on my wall.
Right. I know. Some of the cards, even like the common cards I'm looking at, I'm like, that's such a cool artwork, you know. It's just they put a lot of time into it, you can tell.
Mm-hmm. And going back real quick about how you were saying you essentially got back into Pokemon because you were curious about what they were worth, what your current cards were worth.
Yeah, and what's funny is I'm almost fully abandoned in the sense of like just selling my product or my collection, because it's so now even more valuable to me personally. I don't want to give that up. But I still do it in an investment side, from pulling that rare card, getting it graded back in the old days, and selling it. But I have so many cards that I'm waiting on to come back to me, and that will help supply my future purchases, because I've been spending so much money the last year on cards that it's like I'm not getting any of that money back from the hits that I've sent in to be graded. And I love collecting the sets. That's my main thing with cards. If I pull a huge hit like a Charizard or something and it looks like it could be graded well, I'll send it in. But when I first got back into collecting, I accumulated a bunch of like really good cards from other sets, and it was like December. I set them all aside, I put them together, and I sent them off. Don't have them yet. So I don't have much experience in the grading aspect, but that was my like next route, was to sell my good cards and make sure I can still fill my collection and go from there. But so far, no return on investment yet, but that's okay.
Yeah, you might see them next year.
I know they are scheduled for grading, whatever that means. I mean, it could be another 6 weeks, so who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, that's a good point though you make, though, is that I think we're kind of in an interesting time in the community where a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of, there are certain people who kind of demonize certain things. Basically, anything has to do with money and Pokemon cards.
Yeah, it's
like there's a lot of demonizing it at the moment, and I understand the sentiments. You know, I'm empathetic towards it, but I think like what you're doing, for example, I think that's perfectly fine. That's normal and healthy in a hobby. It's like you don't want to accumulate thousands and thousands of cards. Like,
well, what's funny is as a kid, you don't think about getting a card graded. You're just opening cards to enjoy it. And I'm still doing that. But now as an adult, I understand that there is like monetary value to certain cards. And I supply my habit through getting cards graded and selling them. So that's just how I do it.
For sure. I mean, Pokemon is not exactly a cheap hobby.
And no, not anymore.
Like, nope. So yeah, it like I honestly think that that's a great way to fuel your hobby. Like your extra cards, you get some cards graded and then sell them and then buy more product. I mean, I understand where people are coming from, but I think we really need to take a step back when it comes to trying to demonize, like trying to separate like money and Pokemon. It's like you use money anyway to buy Pokemon cards. Like they're intertwined in some way.
And there's been, since I've been doing it for as long as I have now, I can understand the purpose of why people do what they do. And I don't shame anybody for doing what they want to do. It's their own way of collecting, or if they want to just buy it and sell it, you know, I know sports people that buy Pokemon cards just to get sports product because they can't find sports product. I personally know people that do that, and I don't have a problem with it. And I don't have a problem with really anybody and what they decide to do. It's just be kind and just respect people for what they're doing. And, you know, you don't have to agree with someone with what they do in the community, but it all comes back to how you treat one another. And if it's really causing a problem, then that's one thing. But, you know, everybody's here for their own reasons, and who am I to judge? You know, we're all just doing our own thing.
For sure. 100%. Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
And so, I guess going from there, I did want to ask. Sorry, I had to look down my notes for a sec.
Oh, you're good.
But
I like your hat, by the way. I need one of those.
Thank you. Yes, you do. Especially since you're ShinyAshKetchum.
I
You need like a shiny version of this.
I know. I feel like you just like established my summer goal. I'm gonna find a hat that's like ShinyAshKetchum.
Yes. And when you do, you got to tag me on the Instagram post.
I will for sure.
So going back to your childhood. So can you think of maybe one of your favorite memories when it comes to Pokemon?
You know what's so funny? Can I tell you actually like the most traumatic memory as a child? I'm gonna actually like totally switch gears for a second because it's a very like important memory that I have, and I just think it's such a funny story to tell now. I'll never forget having my binder of cards, and I went to my friend's house, and there was like 4 other kids there, and we were all showing our cards and trading and whatnot, and I don't even know what happened, but the one kid wanted my Charizard, my base set Charizard. And I was like, no. And he's like, you can have these cards. And I'm like, no. And he convinced me to trade it. And I was like, fine. As soon as I gave him that card, I said, no, I want it back. And he like would not give it to me. And I remember like crying my eyes out because I lost my Charizard. And after like an hour of arguing and fighting with this kid, his mom made him give it back to me. And I'm so glad that I threw a tantrum.
And do you still have that card?
I do.
Yes.
That's where it's like, I think it's so funny. That's not a happy memory, but it is a very distinct memory, which I have carried for the rest of my life because it's just so funny to look back and think, man, if I would have let that go, I'd be sitting here now thinking, oh, I traded it to that kid down the street all those years ago. Nope. I cried, I whined, I got it back. But I'll give you a happy memory. One of my happiest memories of Pokemon is actually battling in leagues. And I used to play the trading card game competitively, which I don't anymore, but I used to go to the mall and we had tournaments. And I remember every week there was a different gym leader, and they all played a part as one of like the original gym leaders. And I had a book, and I have it in my storage, but I got gym badges and all these pins and stuff and like cool promo cards. And that was just like so awesome. I couldn't explain it. It actually felt like I was a Pokemon trainer, and that's probably the closest I'll ever get to being a Pokemon trainer, but that's definitely one of my favorite memories.
That's awesome. See, I wish I had actually played the TCG, just
Mhm.
because I do hear cool memories like that, and man, like the promo cards that you get, like little like championship cards or whatever, like you get for
Yeah.
like participating. I'm like, man, I wish I had those.
I know, and it's not hard to play. That's the beauty of the TCG. It's like you can pick it up, and my friend Brian, he's also on Instagram. He got into Pokemon this year because of me, and he played the trading card game to start. And he was doing it online, through the app, and he loved it. And I'm like, it's so easy. If you don't know how to play, you can easily learn. I mean, it only takes about an hour to get the habit or to get the hang of it. Yeah.
Well, that's honestly, I've been thinking more and more about learning how to play.
Yeah.
Maybe with my mostly with my daughter or not. She's 4, so.
Well, but they even have starter decks. I know they're making them a little differently now, but it's the same premise.
Okay. Yeah, I am definitely going to need to learn how to play because.
Yeah.
So I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh a lot. Like.
Okay.
I
never played Yu-Gi-Oh, but I know it's like. Is it kind of similar? Like.
I mean, from Because okay, I should say I guess just take a step back. So I did like play Pokemon but like with my sister, and then years later we realized we weren't playing right, and then and so I
Play
don't.
by your own rules.
Yes, exactly. And so from what I understand, though, it's similar, like in that it's a trading card game. You have your
Right.
hand and everything. You select your cards and whatnot, your monsters. But yeah, I definitely need to learn how to play just because I feel like I'm missing out.
It's not like you're missing out. It's just another area that you can enjoy Pokemon. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's things with Pokemon that I don't enjoy. I mean, there's like in Pokemon Go, some people play that game competitively. I just like catching shiny Pokemon. But I enjoy the app so much. But people are like, you don't battle? And I'm like, no, never. You just do what you want. That's the beauty of Pokemon.
That is the beauty of Pokemon. That's one of the things I loved also about having this podcast is, just I've been able to talk to people who post stuff on Instagram. I've been able to talk to YouTubers, been able to talk to people who do like Pokemon art. Like there's just so many different facets to Pokemon. Like pretty much whatever it is that you want to do in the hobby in Pokemon, there's something for you.
There really is. There really is. And you talked to Jessica too.
I did.
Yeah. So it's amazing how close I've gotten with her over the past year. And she is just someone I truly call a dear friend at this point. And we're very similar in like our collecting habits. And I think that's why we work so well as a team on some things on Instagram. But yeah, it's very interesting because I've also met other people who do totally different things. Like my friend Kimmy, who's Pinky Pogo, she makes artwork all the time for people. And I just love seeing the diversity and creativity and everybody coming together just to make it one huge community.
Yeah, for sure. And as a quick side note, because I'm curious, because at this point, when I think of Jess, Eevee girl, when I think of you, I think of Jess. When I think of Jess, I think of you. Like at this point, it's like you two are just like such a cool, like almost like little team on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, awesome. How did you two like I guess virtually meet?
Oh, gosh, it's so funny because I remember specifically following her. She was one of the first accounts I followed. And I remember she was only at like 800, 500 followers, something like not crazy where she's at now. But I remember following her and she had such good like content. And I was like, man, she really keeps up with her page. And I was like, I plan on doing the same thing. So I didn't actually reach out to her until I forget what happened, but I had made like a fun little profile picture and I gave myself like a holographic backdrop and I posted it and she commented on it. And I was like, oh my God, Eevee Girl 98 commented on my post. I was so excited. And I was like, I'll make you one if you want. And she was like, okay. Ever since then, like we've just been DMing and then we started texting. Now we talk to each other like every day on the phone. Like we are good friends and she's a really awesome person.
That's one of the things I love about the Pokemon community, and even just I guess you can even say just technology in general.
I know.
Like, what are the this would not have happened in the 90s.
No, and you know what? A lot of this, I mean, I personally think a lot of this has to do with the pandemic. We're all home. We're all doing more things at home, and I know I probably wouldn't have gotten back into cards if it wasn't for the pandemic, but at the same time, I have also never had as much social interaction as I have this past year, which is crazy because I'm actually more of an introvert. But the online community and Pokemon and all these people have really brought me out of my shell. And like you said, none of this would have been possible in the 90s. So it's like I think back and it's like I'm so grateful for like just having the things that we do to connect with others. Like right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, that's so cool you say that because I'm actually much more of an introvert unless like once I get talking, like I can talk.
Mm-hmm.
But like doing this podcast, like it was on my mind for probably like a year.
Oh, just like getting started and doing
it. Just getting started. And I actually like finally decided to do it. So my best friend, he passed away about 18 months ago. A few months before the pandemic actually started. And it was at his funeral that I decided, okay, I think I'm going to start this. And so I contacted like the first person and whatnot, but it wasn't until like the actual pandemic that I started like getting more and more, like getting more guests, getting more,
right.
I guess just doing more. But yeah, I remember like my first few like I guess interviews, guests, I was like so freaking nervous. Like I remember I rewatched the first one, I think like last week, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can tell. So what about this? And
it's crazy. But you know what? There's two main things that are good takeaways. You'll never get to where you want to be if you don't start. So you took the initiative, and you should be proud of that. And number two, looking back, it's like you see how far you've come. And that can go for you, that can go for me, that could go for everybody that's made their accounts and see what they've done. Whether they've kept up with it or not, it's the fact that they put themselves out there. Because I tell you what, like you, the first time I went live, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I've never gone live on Instagram in my life. My personal social media, I am not very active, which is like probably surprising to people. I don't know, but I don't really like share my personal life on the internet. So for me to just constantly share Pokemon, it's weird. It's still weird to me because, like I said, I am an introvert at heart, but Pokemon and the community has really like given me a new level that I love and I needed. I didn't know I needed it, but it really taught me how to be that extrovert.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And like even like something like this, you learn a lot, like when you start putting yourself out there more.
You do.
Like I sometimes still have that like hesitation of like trying to DM someone who I don't really know that well, or maybe I've only had a little bit of interaction with.
Yeah.
But like it's interesting because I've found that most people they're just people.
Yes.
Like
yes.
like we're talking now. Like you're even though I mean I don't know how some people think. Well, let me take a step back. I do know that some people, if they have a certain amount of followers, they might think of themselves a little too highly, get a little too high on their own supply.
Yeah, it can happen.
But for the most part, most people are not that way. Most people, you reach out. It's so interesting how I've reached out now to several different people, even people who are bigger in the community. And most of the time, like they either don't respond or they say yes, or they say yes, but I need to do this in like 6 months.
Oh yeah. And well, I feel bad I had to reschedule because of my trip and everything. So I feel bad having to do that.
Oh, no, you're fine. But I guess what I'm getting at is that I think a lot of times we psych ourselves out about trying to start something new.
That's true.
We think that, oh my gosh, this person's going like, I don't know, this person's going to hate me, or they're going to say something mean, or whatever, just pops into our heads.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's not that way most, like 99% of the time.
Right. And I think it's important to remember, at least for me, I'm not a numbers guy. So like, I'm always humbled to see like my follower count go up, but I always keep in the back of my head, like, don't forget where you came from, and don't forget about the people that were there in the beginning. And it's like, if someone else is like me and they're just starting out, I would want to give them the same chance that I had from somebody else. So you just can't really forget your roots no matter what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's one of the reasons why I've enjoyed following your account. You have those, I guess, uplifting vibes, those like I'm a normal dude, I'm just sharing what I like, what I love.
Yeah, I try and be as normal. I can be pretty weird though. I just don't think I put it on Instagram enough. Jess knows how weird I am, but I don't really put it out there that much.
So returning back though to more of the Pokemon stuff.
Yeah.
So what has been your favorite modern set so far? Because I know you got back into it with modern.
So when I first got back into it, I quickly learned about Hidden Fates. And they don't call it Hidden Fates for no reason. I've been lucky enough to find some product recently. It was a set that I thought I would initially try to complete. I'm too far past it to where I would be able to complete it. And now I just open it when I get it for just the leisure of opening it because I love the set so much. So as much as I would love to complete that set, I don't think it's possible. Shining Fates is one that I really have tried my hardest to complete, and I'm getting there. I got to set something up on my Instagram to start doing trades because I'm not going to get the rest of these cards. Hidden Fates is one of them, but the most modern set that I really went like all in and I poured a lot of money into was Vivid Voltage. And it is because of that Rainbow Pikachu. So I know a lot of people are Charizard people. They love hunting that Charizard. I like it too. But there's something about that one rainbow Pikachu that is just so like holy grail to me. And I did pull it, and it's never going to come back to me from the grading company. But it is just that it was like all of the artwork I loved. I loved all of the full art cards. I just liked the way they looked. Vivid Voltage is definitely one of my favorite modern sets.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't have like, it has a Charizard, but it's not the chase card. And I think that's kind of why I like it more, because it's unique.
Yeah, I enjoy Vivid Voltage. I just can't open it up anymore for a little while, because I think we opened up like 4 or 5 booster boxes. ETB, we opened up an ETB, probably like 30 just like booster packs, like loose booster packs, and no Pikachu. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm done for now.
I didn't even know after, because I pulled it early on, which I was very fortunate to do, but I did not know how difficult it was until like we got all this like statistic and data. I mean, it's like 1 in 800 or something.
Yeah, very, very high.
I did it on Twitch, which I'm not really streaming on Twitch anymore, but I pulled it live, and I have a clip of me pulling it, and I'm so glad, because that was like one of the coolest moments I've had in modern Pokemon era.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of reminds me, like when Champions Path came out, very first ETB, we pulled the Rainbow Rare Charizard VMAX.
That's so crazy. So did I.
Dude, yes.
And that was like, so like I said in the beginning, it was Sword and Shield base set where I kind of got hooked from that Snorlax. But my first main set I invested in to try and collect was Champions Path. And I thought I like hit the jackpot right away, and I was freaking out. But then I quickly realized how small of that set it was, and you're getting so many repeats.
Oh, yes. I have mixed feelings about Champions Path, because Champions Path has been kind of good to us. We actually pulled that Charizard twice. We pulled other like really cool cards from that, but it's not that great of a set.
No. Outside of those 3, well, so I would say those 2 Charizards are obviously amazing, but the only other cards I really liked were the rainbow cards, the hyper rares.
Yeah.
You get so many of the same, like Gardevoir VMAX, or it's just all repeats. There's no variety.
Machamps.
Oh my gosh, Machampion's Path is what we call it.
Yeah, it's an interesting set, which is so funny, because I remember it being so hyped. Yes. Once like people realized there were going to be 2 Charizards in there.
And I know. But you know what? It's still going to be a hyped up set because it's Charizard. That's one thing I've learned over the last year. If the set includes a Pikachu or a Charizard that's like a chase card, it's safe to say it's going to be pretty hard to find.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Champions Path gets scooped up pretty quickly in stores.
Yep. But now I've seen it once in a while, and I'm like, no, I do not want that double box. Someone can buy it for me and I'll open it, but I am not putting my own money into that set anymore.
Which kind of along those lines, though, as just following you on Instagram, I know that you've been, I know you've said you've been hit or miss, but you have had some pretty good luck in actually being able to find product during a time when product has been pretty scarce.
Yes.
So any advice, tips that you have for people who are trying to find product but just keep ending up shorthanded?
So this is like a really hard subject, and I'm going to try and be as straightforward and honest as possible. I put a lot of time into finding product. Over the winter, I spent so many nights driving to every store I could, seeing if the vendor was stocking or if they had stocked, because I didn't know when they were going to be there. And I quickly learned that there were people that were following the vendor, or they knew, because sometimes I would catch a vendor and people would say, oh, they're here on Monday or they're here on Wednesday. And I was like, how do you know that? It just got kind of weird. But since then, I've been hunting down product at certain stores where I know that stock is consistent. Even if it's not a lot, I found a few stores One of them, as I've said on my post numerous times, is Barnes and Noble, which I have no idea why that is one of my main go-tos for Pokemon cards. But stores are changing their policies. They're trying to make it easier for people to get cards, and the limits are helping. So when people, and like what you're saying, I am getting lucky, it's also because I know when the times are that they're bringing them out because they've posted them. So if Target is going to be doing a release at 8 a.m. and it's one item per person, I'll show up at like 7:45 and cross my fingers and hope for the best. And I've been lucky enough to get a Hidden Fates tin. Now, a month ago, they had a limit of 3, and I was getting 3 Hidden Fates tins. So I go with whatever I'm able to get. You know, I am not out to buy up all the product. I've never done that before. I believe if there's children in line, they deserve the first chance before anybody else. But that's a fine line because I do see adults bringing their kids, their grandparents, their neighbor, and they all get their limit of 1. But it's just been kind of weird, you know. But I have been lucky, and I can't say I haven't been. So for the people that are trying to find product, I'm sorry I didn't answer your question. Stay consistent. Do not give up. It's going to get better. The reprints are happening. Stock is coming. Walmart and Target are putting out notices soon where they're saying, hey, we might discontinue products starting June 1st just because of a safety concern for their employees. That's going to allow local card shops to better manage their inventory, their price levels, because they don't want to sell an ETB for $125. We know they don't. But they've had no choice over the last several months because of what's been happening. So if you can eliminate that with the scalpers and the people just buying up everything and reselling it on eBay, we'll come to a better place where these card shops can regulate more of their own inventory. So just hang in there. That's my advice. It's going to get better.
100%. Yeah. Like patience really is key. I think sometimes we can have that FOMO. We want to, be able to open up the packs as soon as the new set is released. And right. I get that. But yeah, definitely just like you were saying, stay consistent, but also be patient.
Yeah. And there's weeks, like people don't know it. I don't find stuff like 75% of the time. But I'm also very conscious of what I have, and I do not open it all at once. So if I do find product and I already have product, I will save it. And people are like, how do you save product? Who saves product? I've been saving product since I got back into it. And I mean, I've opened most of it, but it's like, I don't let myself get to a point where I have nothing to open. So that way I don't feel like I'm missing out or I'm going crazy, like I can't find product. You just got to control yourself. And I learned that very quickly in the beginning because there was a few times where I wasn't pulling the shiny Charizard out of Champion's Path, and I think I raged open all of my product that I had, and I learned to never do that again. So patience is key, but also self-control. Don't open up everything you have at once.
Yes. And going back to, you were mentioning how Champion's Path, you can still find Champion's Path now. Champion's Path, when it first came out, was super hard to find.
Yeah.
But now today, 7 months later, I don't know if I did my math right, about 9 months later, you could still find it. They're still printing Champion's Path.
It's weird though. I haven't seen an ETB. I've seen Hatterin boxes or double boxes, but I haven't even seen the Marnie boxes or the little pin collection sets. I haven't seen any of those or the ETBs. So it just depends.
Yeah. But I think, Pokemon is good at replenishing the supply when it's in demand. Today, literally, this was about 2 or 3 hours ago on the Pokemon Center website. It lasted for about 5 minutes. I didn't get any, but they had
what did I miss?
Burning Shadows booster packs on the Pokemon Center website.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one to open.
They had I think a Celestial Storm, all these random. I don't know if they found this in the corner of some random warehouse.
Right.
But sets that have been out of print for now months, and some even a couple of years, just randomly showed up on the Pokemon Center website. And so, yeah, definitely, I think, again, I understand wanting to open up the set when it's brand new and whatnot. But if you're patient, the odds are in your favor that you'll be able to find it without having to pay, twice as much as what you would pay in stores.
And another lesson is I learned not every set is for me. And that might be true for some other people and they haven't realized it yet. But I thought getting back into it, I'm going to collect all the sets. And then I quickly realized how fast they release sets. And I'm like, I can't keep up. And the other part is battle styles caused me trauma. And I couldn't continue to open it anymore. So I stopped collecting that set. And I realized with Chilling Reign, I want the legendary birds so much. So that's all I'm going to go for. And if I don't collect the set, I don't collect the set. But I just want to get the 3 birds. And that's fine. I'm learning, you're never going to learn what you want to get out of the hobby until you really put the time and the effort in, because I thought I was going to collect every set and be like the ultimate Pokemon collector. It's not realistic. And just there's so many cards I like that I don't need to collect an entire set just to get those cards. So that's just another piece of advice.
Yeah, for sure. Just collect what you love. Collect what you want. And that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. Like when it comes to Pokemon, there's something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might love Snorlax, you might love, Scyther, and there's so many different aspects that you could collect. You don't have to collect everything.
Right. There's my friend Nick. He collects everything Alakazam. Everything. Abracadabra and Alakazam. Any card. And he will take multiple copies of it. It's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know there are oh my gosh, I talked to someone not too long ago. Snob. There's
the Pokemon Snob.
Yeah. That Snob is it Snob.
Yeah.
Did I say it? Yeah. They just collect Snob cards.
Yeah.
That's just to me that's just so random. But they're just going back to there's something for everyone.
Right. Mine would be I don't collect one Pokemon in any from every set, but I would collect all the Ditto cards if I could. I'm not at that point yet. Still finding my niche after all these months.
It's okay, because I feel like as you get older, your niche might change anyway.
Exactly. So never be too hard on yourself. Life happens and you learn your tastes, and sometimes things change.
100%. And it's okay for things to change. It's okay to change your mind and to shift gears.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Whether that's in Pokemon or whether that's something else in life, it's okay.
Right.
Okay. Now, I did want to get to 2 more topics, and then just hit you with some rapid fire random questions, and I'll let you go.
You're good.
So, I think we kind of mentioned this a little earlier, but just over the last maybe 6 months, maybe longer, maybe a little shorter, but I've noticed a lot more negativity, cynicism in the community, and I've noticed even just because I follow you, even you've had some people commenting some stuff. Oh man, what a time that was. Go ahead. And so I guess any thoughts on that? Any advice for just the community in general when it comes to negativity?
Number 1, don't judge a book by its cover. We don't know who any of each other really are on the inside, and everybody that's doing what they're doing obviously is doing it for a reason. And like you said in the very beginning, a majority of the community and a majority of the people that are doing this are not trying to do anything to cause harm or negativity towards others. Now, what happened to me last month, I can't explain. I think it was only a matter of time before I became a subject of some sort of scalper discussion, or I don't know what happened, but there's more people than you think that would bat for you and fight for you and stand in your corner. And that's exactly what happened. And it was really enlightening, and it made me feel really good to know that people do know me as a person, not just as a Pokemon Instagram. And I really do try and treat people the same way. There's people that I've talked to a few times, maybe once or twice. But the main thing I try to do is always respond to everybody, because you never know what could blossom out of that. And I take it back to just how I interacted with Jess, because now she's one of my closest friends. Negativity is going to be wherever you go, but it's not always going to be the entire, like, it's not going to be, never let it consume you to the point where you're not enjoying something anymore. That was a really weird and hard thing for me because I never thought I would experience something like that on a Pokemon Instagram. But the amount of direct messages I got just with people saying awful things to me was pretty weird. And those people I did not answer. It was just not worth my time to explain. Long story short, your true friends and followers will know who you are and what you're doing, and just be a good person. I've said this before and I say it all the time. The more positivity you spread, the more you get back. So I hope that just spreads.
I love that. And you know, that just reminds me a conversation I had with Alex Hodges just over DM not too long ago. But long story short, not to give too much context, but I was just talking about how, you know, sometimes someone sees a post, they see a TikTok, they see a YouTube video when they're not in the best mind frame,
Right.
and and so they assume, like you were exactly like you were saying, they judge the book by the cover. But like you were saying, I think when you keep putting out that positivity, that uplifting content, just being yourself, that person might come back later. They might see another piece of your content 6 months later and be in a better mind frame,
Right.
mindset, and then they had that realization, like, oh, I see what this person is about. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, I actually understand what they're trying to do. Like, I guess I want to put that out there for the people who do receive that negativity, who do get criticized. We have to remember to also ourselves have that empathy and understanding that, hey, that person is not in a good place at the moment.
Exactly. And that's something I actually learned at my job. I know this sounds really weird, but I've been in a lot of customer service type jobs in my life. And in my current company, I started in a customer service role. And one of the biggest things they taught us and trained us on was empathy. And I never knew how much I actually needed to learn empathy until I learned it. Because until you put yourself in somebody else's shoes and you walk that mile or take a minute to learn more about them, you don't know what's going on behind their screen. So when you talk to somebody on the internet, you don't know what they could be going through. And it's super important that we treat each other with respect and kindness, because you don't know what that could cause them for the rest of the day or in the future. You know, some people are just very sensitive, and I try myself to not put my personal life out there, like I said, but I haven't been as much active as I used to be in the last 2 weeks. And I just put a disclaimer out, like, I'm going through some stuff right now, and I wanted to be transparent because, number one, I don't want people to think that, because we see it everywhere, right? TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, people are living these lavish lives and they just have no issues. They're happy. They have a family, a wife and kids, or a partner, and they're just super happy. Life is very real. And like you said, mental health is very important. And I wanted to be transparent with my followers because it's not something you should take lightly. And it's okay to take a few steps back to go 10 steps forward, if that makes sense.
100%. And actually, and I think that's also great that, and I guess everyone should have a little self-awareness and know when and how to do it. But I think that's great that you do let your followers know, hey, I need some time, just so you know, I'm still here.
Yeah.
But I need some time because I think we do live in kind of a culture where the whole like Instagram culture where we assume.
Yeah, it's comparison theory. Like, everybody wants to be someone other than themselves. And I used to be a victim of that for years. And I no longer live that way. And it's something that I try to help encourage others to do, because you are so unique, because there's only one you. So just run with it and enjoy who you are, because there's nobody else like you. So that's my message.
Yeah. Amen, man. I feel like saying amen like 60 times during this conversation.
You can.
So I do want to go one last thing before some random rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So normally before I talk to someone, I like to maybe go through their, if they have a YouTube, watch some of their videos, Instagram, go through a little bit of their content, just get a little more context, maybe ask some more specific questions.
Right.
And I was very surprised when I was going through your Instagram and I came across a clip of you on Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. Little Michael on Wheel of Fortune. It was
And
almost
so,
10 years ago.
yes, I think that's what you said on the post. And so I'm just curious, like, I'm sure this could be like a whole conversation in and of itself.
I could make
But
it quick.
but I mean, like, what was that like? How did that happen?
It's very relatable to who I am now in my Pokemon journey and how I live my life. And long story short, I'm a fighter and I don't give up on things that I believe in and what I want. And I've taken this from when I was a child because I grew up watching the show. I learned how to like basically spell, read, and write by watching Vanna turn the letters on the puzzle board. And it was like, that was the coolest show to me as a child. And I watched it every weekend with my grandma. And I remember she told me, she was like, and I was just a kid, she goes, "You're so good at this. You need to be on this show someday." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like all excited because I was like, this is the coolest show ever. And she thinks I should be on it. So I watched it every day religiously as I got older. I would come home from school, I would have dinner, and I'd watch Wheel of Fortune. Starting with like my teen years, I would apply for Teen Week like once a year, never got on, never got called. When I got older, my grandmother passed away, but she said, "You need to go on Wheel of Fortune someday. Like, please promise me you won't stop." And I was like, "I'll never stop." And I didn't. And when I was like 21, 22, I had an opportunity to audition. I finally got through to whoever the Wheel of Fortune gods are, and they allowed me to audition. So I drove like 4 hours away, which wasn't that bad. I was willing to go wherever at that point. But there was like 400 other people there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like American Idol or something. I was not prepared for that. But it was super intense. They had a lot of tests and like questions and like interactive activities to see your personality and how much energy you could bring and like your persona. They wanted to feel you out. But I passed all their tests with like super high scores, and they liked me enough and they asked me to be on the show. So it was the most enlightening experience of my life because it was one moment, and this is why it's so important to me, to tell me never give up on your dreams. Don't give up on the important people in your life. If they are meant to be there, they will be there, but at least put up the fight and do whatever it takes to make sure that they know, or the goals that you're achieving. Don't ever give less than 100% for the things you want in life. So I've adapted that lifestyle. And it really showed me that dreams can come true from Wheel of Fortune. And I've lived my life that way since then. And I tell you what, I've had some setbacks and I have not achieved every single thing I've wanted in life, but I've always given 100%. And I can always look back and say, you know what, that didn't happen, but at least I gave my full, 100%.
Dude, oh my gosh, I love that story. Like, I don't know why some things they just hit me real hard. That like almost makes me teary eyed, like just hearing that story.
Yeah. Well, so to top that, or to end that story, you're familiar with the show. So like there's the bonus round, like the end of it. So I made it to the end. My puzzle was words of love. And it was so weird because I kept my grandmother's lucky pendant in my pocket when I was on the show. And she said she was always just full of love towards me. So it's like that puzzle was like, it eerily reminded me of her, and I solved it. And it was just like the perfect like connection. And I feel like, not to be weird, but like I connected with my grandmother after all those years. It was so weird. But that whole experience alone changed my life in the best way possible.
That is awesome. Man, I'm so glad you're on the show. Oh my gosh.
I am too, but man, I think back to it and it's like, now that I'm in my 30s, I feel like I was a child on that show at this point. I had no facial hair, just some like weird mohawk and like a chin strap, which I thought was cool in the early 2000s.
Oh man, that's such a cool story. That's such a cool way to, I guess, kind of end, so to speak. We'll go do some really fast rapid fire questions and call it good.
Sounds good.
Oh man, that's such a cool story. My gosh, I might have to clip that one section and just make that its own video.
Oh God, you can. I mean, so, and if people ever want to find it, it's no longer on YouTube because of copyright, and I had to take it down. But they are adding it to Netflix apparently in the future. So who knows? Maybe you'll see it someday. If not, I'll send you a clip.
If it's on Netflix, I can go watch it with my family and be like, hey, I know him.
Exactly. That's ShinyAshKetchum buying vowels.
Okay, so some random rapid fire question. What is your favorite cereal?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Good choice. Favorite Pokemon game?
Like any game?
Any game.
Blue. The original Blue. That was my first game.
That was my first game too.
Yeah.
If you could do a collab with anyone in the world, who would it be with?
Oh God. Can you be more specific? Like what kind of collab?
Let's say, okay, how about if you could open up Pokemon cards with anyone, who would it be with?
Oh my gosh. I know this is going to sound really silly, but Jessica, and I'm going to in a few weeks because she's the only person I have not opened cards with that like is really an important person in my life. So I'm going to say her.
Well, there you go. Going to hit another one of your goals.
Yes.
What's your favorite type of music?
Oh God, this is embarrassing. 2000s pop punk.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I'm stuck. I told you I'm a 90s kid, but like I grew up in the early 2000s. So like Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, all those bands, like All Time Low. I am just a total, I still listen to it. I try and listen to current music and I'm like, oh, this is not good.
Your favorite Pokemon card that you currently own?
That would be my base set Charizard, but I want to say something else because everyone always says that. I would say it's probably my Rainbow Pikachu, which I will have again someday.
And last question, what makes you happy?
Oh my gosh. You know what? There's happiness found in everything. So I first would say my family and my nephew. I've never had, it's always been a family of 5 for me. So my sister added my nephew a few years ago and he's been the greatest addition. So family first. My dog is obviously like my best friend and I never knew how much I could love an animal in my life until I got my dog. So definitely her. And my passion of exercise has kept me grounded and kept me sane during all this craziness. So I've learned to love to take care of myself.
That's awesome. And that is our show, guys. So go ahead and follow Shiny Ash Ketchum.
You could be. I mean, at this point, you can say whatever.
I might need to cut that part out. But ShinyAshKetchum, go follow him.
It's not as easy to say as you think, right? I struggle myself. So I just say, call me Michael.
Michael, go follow Michael on Instagram. Seriously, such a cool guy to follow. And Michael, thanks again for being on.
Of course. Anytime. I'm happy to do it. Thank you.